do you know what? This is my first recording of this new series, and I'm obviously a bit nervous because I've been shoveling granola in my mouth in a kind of
Yeah.
emotional eating kind of way. I'm now trying to get that
Same.
granola out of my teeth. Okay, let me do the intro. Hello, and welcome to another episode of But Why, the podcast that's all about digging into big questions and tricky topics via honest conversations. This week, we're going to be looking at farming. Today's guest is not from a farming background. In fact, she spent most of her career as a hairdresser in Soho before swapping that for rural Kent. I initially followed her because of the cute animals, but found that there was way more to what she's sharing than that. Getting to see the inner workings of farmer life, understanding the hard graft that goes on behind it, and being reminded that the image we have of farms as picture perfect versions from kids' books or entirely run by old chaps is very far off the mark. And more importantly, that even if you live in the depth of an inner city, farms play a huge part in all of our lives. Also, this conversation is slightly for my own benefit because I have a stupid naive belief that I would quite like to be a farmer. Anyway, enough of me. Let me introduce Zoe, aka the Chief Shepherdess, and let's get cracking with this episode.
Hi.
Hello,
Are you okay? I'm well,
how are
thank
you? Yeah, I'm good. I'm
you. I'm
good.
pleased.
I'm quite interested. I usually start with 3 questions, but I'm actually also interested in what you've been up to this morning. I've been to the gym, I've taken my kids to school, done quite like averagey things, and I'm thinking you might have been out and about and working
Yeah,
hard already.
it probably equates to the same. I've pretty much done a gym workout. I've fed all my kids, made sure everyone's watered. So we've pretty much done the same thing, except yours have gone off and mine are still in the same place, but it kind of equates to the same. Um, we have to.
Yeah, and I'm
You go.
gone. I was going to say I'm laughing to myself because I do kind of quite functional fitness, which is a bit of like dragging stuff a lot around, quite a lot of weight based stuff, and I'm having to do that in this contrived environment, and you're probably achieving it just by making
Yeah,
the farm run.
it's quite scary. We bought one of the those posh watches that it tracks everything,
Mm.
and everything comes down to, it keeps saying workout begins, and we're looking at each other like we're just doing normal things. I'll be honest, it's quite, it feels quite fortunate, really, the fact that we can just work and stay fairly trim without having to pay for a gym membership or anything. But I'm sure that'll catch up with us in the next few years, but we'll enjoy it while it lasts.
I don't know. I don't know if it will. That's exactly the point, that we've had to like go to gyms because we lived such sedentary lifestyles. Whereas you're busy just doing the business of life and working, aren't you? And I mean, I'm sure you don't have to try and get your step count up, do you? I bet you do unbelievable number
No,
of steps a day.
it's quite scary sometimes because you think, oh, I've had quite a chilled one today, and then you kind of, these new watches get quite addictive. You go onto the app and you think, oh yeah, and you look through and you think, I thought I'd had quite a chilled day, and then I'll chat to one of my friends who works from home and chat to her, and she's done like 2,000 steps or something, and we're in the 20,000s, and we thought we've just
Are you?
just chilled today, really. But we don't have quad bikes and things like that. So this time of year, we won't drive the truck round to check all the sheep. We do everything on foot. So you kind of rack up the steps without realizing it, really, because you're chatting to each other. It doesn't really feel like exercise, which is a good thing, of course. But then when you
Mm.
do really want a chill day, sometimes you feel like you're just dragging your feet through the mud. But
Yeah.
on the whole, it's quite good to get up and out. As you say, you've been to the gym this morning. That gives you that buzz in the morning. So we're quite
Mhm.
fortunate that just doing our chores, we can get that buzz, and you get a huge amount of endorphins, don't you? Getting your heart rate up. So yeah, quite a nice feeling.
Um, do you, by the time you get into bed, do you feel physically tired at the end
Every
of
day,
each working
every day,
day?
and it's
Do
okay
you?
for me, because I'm reasonably healthy. But Chris, my boyfriend, he's got ME. So for him, it's
Wow.
quite a balance for him to kind of work out when he's, having a flare up and when he's just tired. So he often says to me, "Do your legs ache or do you feel
Mm.
like this?" And that's how we kind of gauge whether he can keep going or whether he needs to kind of step back a bit, or I tell him to step back a bit. But yeah, I'd say I haven't slept this well in, you know, 15 years or something.
Yeah. Yeah, because yeah, I mean, I'll get onto it in a minute. So it's absolutely fascinating. So for the context of people who don't follow you, tell me a bit about your
Okay. I'll
pre-farming
try and
life.
condense it a little bit. So I went to an all girls stuffy grammar school, all girls grammar school in Kent.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So did I.
Did you have to wear gym knickers? Yes. Same. No one seems
Yes,
to understand how stressful that is as a young, well, just hitting puberty
horrendous.
female being stuck in these things. Oh, anyway. So I had to wear gym knickers and went to an all girls school and decided that I wanted to be a hairdresser, and they told me it was a waste of my academic ability and I should go to university, tried to push me in that direction. And me being the woman that I am, obviously completely rebelled against that. I went to art college and did a lot of things that I shouldn't have. And then that led on to, actually, do you know what? I'm just going to go and do hairdressing. I was hanging around with a lot of kind of free spirits, and I kind of thought, actually, no, that's what I want to do. So why am I in a
Mm.
dark room studying photography when actually I want to do fashion photography and that kind of thing? So I moved. So I had an interview on the Friday up in Selfridges, on Oxford Circus. Salon was called Cabela. I had the interview on the Friday, told I had the hairdressing apprenticeship, and my boyfriend at the time was at Queen Mary's in East London. So I moved into his halls on the Sunday, and started the new job as a hairdressing apprentice on the Monday. And I think my dad had put like 20 quid on my Oyster card, and I had like, I don't know, a 30 quid check from my nan in my bank or something, like I was broke. But I didn't care. And I really missed that feeling of not caring. Anyway, got into
Mm.
London life. All I cared about was shoes, clothes, smoking cigarettes, not eating very much, being really unhealthy, but living the life. I think I think it's
So
one of those things,
relatable.
isn't it? If you've been there, you totally understand that need for. It's so strange. Like, I really craved just that buzz. Every single day you wake up buzzing
Mm.
just to get on the tube and be around people that are buzzing. And I loved it.
Mm.
Um, I really wouldn't change that. I did a lot. I was fortunate enough to do a lot of the hair for a lot of photo shoots, like editorial work. I had experience I would never have got here in Kent, so I'm really thankful, and life experience. Like, who who doesn't wish to move out and meet people from all over the world and get into scrapes? Anyway, that
Mm.
was amazing.
And have a lot
Had
of
fun.
fun,
Like, I
even though
wouldn't
it's
regret
so
anything. I
different
wouldn't
from
regret
what you are
anything.
now.
Um, and then I
No.
met Chris, who is my boyfriend. His dad was a farmer, but he died when Chris was 12, so he was just young. So he left the farm. He lived with his mum, and became a plumber. So he basically messaged me on Facebook Messenger saying, basically, "You're fit," something ridiculous like that, like so fit. And I just rolled my eyes and I thought, seriously, is this guy for real? And he badgered me, and we went on a date in London. Ended up doing sambuca shots and doing learning to salsa, really. And then we were well, I projectile vomited that night, and then we were inseparable, literally inseparable ever since then. Um, Except he had a burnout a few months after we left, started dating. Sorry, he had a burnout, and he ended up being in bed for around just under a year, having tests and things like that. And I thought he was dying. I genuinely thought he'd gone from being like
Wow.
wild. I mean, he'd been traveling, he'd done all these wild things, and I thought, yeah, this suits us. I'm a bit wild in London. He's a bit wild here. This would be great. Basically have fun. And then, yeah, he was in bed for a long, long time. And I used to come, so all week I'd kind of live this bit crazy lifestyle, cocktails after work and things like that. And then at the weekend or on Sunday and Monday, which are my days off, I'd come and lay in bed in Kent with him, and we would rarely talk really because um, he didn't have the energy really. Um, yeah, and I fell in love with him, and it's really strange because I always imagined my life not to be as it is now.
Mm.
It's just so
So hard that,
strange,
isn't
and
it? It's
I
like
always,
because it's all
yeah,
made up anyway, but you have an idea of what you think it's
and you
gonna be and
almost
who you're
grieve
gonna
it, don't you?
be.
You almost grieve the life that.
Mm.
And I've spoken to a lot over my time as a hairdresser, spoken to a lot of new mothers, and they have the same kind of feeling. Kind of anyway.
Mm.
So to get him out the house, we bought a a, a Springer Spaniel. Her name is Indy. He started going shooting with her, so like pheasant shooting with all his dad's old mates, and kind of reconnecting. And I saw something change in him. He went from he was always upbeat, even when he was in bed. He was always like I admire him so much for that. He never kind of gave up, but he just came alive because he was out, and it was a struggle. Like he'd go shooting on a Saturday, and he'd be in bed for a week just from holding a conversation and walking. But he, long story short, he ended up in a livestock market, and he bought 32 in lamb ewes. Rang me in the salon, was like, "Hi Zoe," and I was, "Hey, oh, I've just bought us some sheep." What? Where are we going to keep them? And it turns out his dad's friend had said, "Look, mate, you want to do it? Do it." Rented us a bit of land, and we've just grown and grown ever since. I you kind of want it to be so romantic that I just kind of, oh, I
Mm.
just started doing a little bit of farming, and then I knew it was my calling in life, but that definitely was not it. It was not it at all. It definitely took a long time for me to kind of get used to the fact that there's no point wearing nice lipstick and stuff when you're farming. It took a long time.
Mm.
It wasn't like a I found myself. It wasn't like that at all. So I just kind of dipped my toe in a bit at the weekend, and I was still wearing like, do you remember leather look leggings when they were in fashion? So I was still kind of
Yes.
wearing them instead of waterproofs and things like that. And I just kind of I couldn't fully embrace it. I still wanted to do
Mm.
both. Um, and yeah, basically, it got to the point where we couldn't expand the farm without me, but to live and progress as a relationship, we needed my income because I was earning quite good money as a colorist. And yeah, and then I had 2 weeks off the salon. I'm chewing your ear off here, sorry. I had 2 weeks off the salon. Okay.
No, I'm enjoying it.
Um, there's no way to condense it anymore, otherwise there's so, like, gaping holes in it.
Mm.
So they,
I'm into it.
I took 2 weeks off the salon. I'd moved to a salon in Kent at this point because the commute on the train was just horrendous. It's charging me, I was finishing the salon at 8 in Soho. I was in a salon called Tommy Guns for a long time, just off, Brick Lane. As soon as I'd done my
Remember them.
apprenticeship, I went there. And so, yeah, I kind of bit the bullet, and I moved back home to my mum and dad's in Kent, which was about 20 minutes from where my boyfriend Chris lived. Anyway, I worked in a salon there, and it was still really high end. Like it was a good salon, but it didn't have the buzz at all. It was a bit Stepford Wivesy. And I was kind of introducing them like what baby lights and what balayage were, and they didn't really get it. They were still having like the classic foils